Thank you for joining us at ENCA, but I'll really put it bluntly to you. Driving across these bridges in Johannesburg, our residents are putting themselves at risk.
Well, to some extent you could say that, because ordinarily where there are instances where our bridges are not in good condition, the risk is there. However, if you recall with how we dealt with the M2, at the point that we realized that driving over the bridge is actually not going to be sustainable because of the volumes of traffic, we actually close the bridge. So I want to assure the public that at a point when we realize that a bridge is at a state that we would not recommend driving over it and it needs emergency repairs or rehabilitation, we would actually notify the public. We continuously are assessing the bridges to make sure that at any point where we see serious cracks or any structural damage, we are able to communicate timelessly.
Now, I understand there was a JRA engineer here just moments ago.
Yes.
Is it safe to drive past here, and what exactly is the extent of the damage that we're seeing here?
Okay, so it is safe to drive here. The engineer has done the assessment, but just to explain to you what has happened, there's a V-drain on top, and that V-drain across it goes through what is called a finger joint. That is the joint that holds the different bridge decks in place. What we realized has happened is that as the water goes through, instead of going straight through into this channel so that the water would be collected into this section, actually because of a combination of rubble, the heavy rains, as well as also some of these roots that are growing under this structure of these channels, this section slowly started eroding because the water moved to the side and it seeped into this embankment and it eroded. And when it eroded, that's why these bricks then collapsed. However, what's important for me to explain to you is that section there, as you can see, that grayish or blackish pillar there, that is actually the counterfold. That is what holds the bridge in place. And it's not only that one, there will be 2 or 3 of them also in this section. So that's the real structure of the bridge. So at the moment, it's the embankment as well as the stormwater drainage section that is actually affected.
Now, earlier on, I touched on this issue. 902 bridges around Johannesburg, only 6% are in good condition.
Yes.
No maintenance in democratic South Africa. What has the Johannesburg Road Agency been doing?
Okay, so you will understand that in terms of the bridge management system, when we say they are not in good condition, you will find that some of them are actually acceptable. Good is actually the standard that we would like all our bridges to be at. So you will find that in the region of about 30% to 40%, they are actually in acceptable condition.
Then no maintenance in democratic South Africa. What's been happening?
Well, the issue of maintenance has actually been happening, but I suppose that where the problem would have been is that you actually maintained in some instances when you should have rehabilitated or reconstructed. I think that is really where the problem is. You would know that at a particular point, when you actually continuously maintain something, when it's actually broken, you actually either need to replace it or you actually need to rehabilitate the structure or some structures in a particular bridge. So I think that is really where the real challenge lies, in that where in some instances there should have been reconstruction and rehabilitation, there would have been maintenance and repairs, and that did not hold very well.
Just lastly, plans going forward to rehabilitate the 94% of bridges that need urgent attention.
Okay, so in terms of our own assessment and cost-wise, we have been looking at a situation where we need at least about 4 billion annually to actually be able to keep up and bring our bridges to a better standard to what they currently are. As you have indicated, in terms of that index, you would have very good bridges, you would have good, you would have acceptable, you would have poor, and you would have very poor. At the moment, the majority of our bridges are in the poor and very poor state. Fewer of them are in the very poor. When they are poor, that means that they are structurally still sound, but they need urgent attention. And when they are actually acceptable, that means they can actually endure for another 5 to 10 years, for example, because the bridge has a 50 to 60-year lifespan. So as the JRA, what we have done is, based on those assessments, we have identified those bridges that are critical, and we have actually prioritized them. So, for example, we will be, for example, attending to some 5 bridges that we believe need urgent attention, in order that we can be able to ensure the public that we are attending to the problem, we are aware of it. The challenge with going into the past is it doesn't really change what happens in the present, but what has to happen is that we need to provide the resources, and you would know that we don't have the money to fix all of the bridges. Hence, we are prioritizing at the moment. The current administration is also, our leadership is also doing everything that they can to provide us with the resources, so that we can at least be able to do more in improving the state and condition of our bridges throughout the city.
Thank you very much. That is the Managing Director of the Johannesburg Road Agency. But I just want to touch with the JMPD now, just to understand, on this particular bridge, when were you alerted about it, and maybe just the way forward and safeguarding pedestrians and people that are driving motorists around here?
Okay, thank you very much. This was brought to our attention yesterday afternoon, and for JMPD, safety is of utmost importance, especially for motorists and residents. So we did bring it to the attention of JRA, and our freeway unit officers were deployed in this area just to patrol and to ensure safety of the residents and motorists. And as you can see, that sand has seeped onto the roadway, so it's important that it does get cleaned, and our officers will just keep on continuing patrolling in this area.
Now, when we got here, we were the only people here, first people to arrive. It hasn't been barricaded. As you just mentioned, sand is seeping through the road. And this you were alerted of since yesterday afternoon. When is it going to be barricaded, or what's going to happen going forward?
The direction for actually barricading and closing down the road will get from JRA. What we can do as JMPD is just to continue with safety patrols and ensuring that motorists and residents are safe.
Thank you very much. That is the JMPD spokesperson, Kolani Fihla here, as well as the MD of the Johannesburg Road Agency, just painting out the picture of the gaping hole that you're seeing behind us now. We do understand, we heard that just the bridges around Johannesburg need about 4 billion to be maintained.